Morning, YouTube viewers and subscribers. So I've got yet another edition of this Spacewalker assembly here, and this thing is probably 98% complete now. I've got the cowling installed for the last time. In fact, it took several more fittings. I've got all the radio components installed inside here. All that's really left for me to do is just mount the wings again and the landing gear, and just set the control surfaces for the ailerons. All the tail surfaces are done. So here's what it looks like right now with the cowling installed, and I've got the engine on here. The exhaust is you can see where the exhaust comes out right there. Just barely see it. I've relieved some area for the exhaust also. So installing this cowling was considerably more challenging than I thought, but I ended up having to drill some holes for access. Just these holes on the top are just so I could secure the rod for the choke line and for the high-speed needle, and I managed to misdrill a hole here too. So I've got an extra hole, and then I've got this hole here. Zoom in here a bit so you can see this better, with just a fuel line hanging out of it. So what I've got here is I ended up going and buying a Dubro tank for this thing, and I don't typically use 3-line tank setups, but because removing this cowl and fueling the tank is really going to be difficult, I ended up going with a 3-mount or a 3-line system, and this hole here is just my fill line. So I can just pull this screw out, fill my tank there, and plug that thing back up, and hopefully it won't go all the way back inside there. But you can see here, this is my, it doesn't look pretty, but this is my choke mechanism. So right now the engine is choked, or the choke flapper is on the carb, and then I just do this and it's open. And then here's my high-speed needle. Oh, shit. So, some other things here real quick. I just did put the head on this pilot, and all I used was some goop. It's pretty old. Hopefully it's still, I squeezed a bunch out to see if I could actually get through the part that has kind of dried up. Hopefully it holds. I don't have the windscreens on yet. I really hate windscreens, even though it came with a little red tape to put over the glue seam. They say to use CA, but CA is going to really going to fog that up and make it look nasty. So I might actually try and use goop, but this stuff is so goopy, it doesn't flow, and it's really hard to apply. You almost have to try and apply it with a toothpick, and then it takes a long time. It's a real mess. But I think it would hold better and it wouldn't fog like CA, but I haven't decided yet. I'm probably not even going to mess with the windscreens right now. Now in this, I've got a volt watch here for my battery pack. So let's look inside what I've got going on inside here now. So I've got my aileron extension wires here. I've got my fuel tank installed. This piece of foam here is just foam that I wadded up and stuck through a hole here, and it just serves as a means to keep this tank from going back any further. And since this is a Dubro tank, it's got the lip in front, so it's not going to go any further forward. But I've also got a piece of foam there too. So I've got 3 lines on here. I've got the vent line for the tank connected down to my exhaust, and then of course the line for my fill and the carb inlet. So here's my throttle, servo, rudder. Let me get my radio. Turn this on real quick, and we can see some, maybe see some control surface movement here. everything's fairly functional. This airplane is very close to being able to do an outside engine run attempt, which, being as it's Easter Sunday, I don't know when I'm actually going to get to that because I've got other plans today. So this is, like I said, it's about 98% complete. I just have to bolt the landing gear on again and do those aileron servo connections, which is really not a huge deal. It's probably to a point where I could actually go ahead and do a test run of the engine. The only thing that's kind of bothersome to me is I really can't see when I go to try and choke this. I really can't see the fuel going in the line at all. I think I know from running this engine a few times that if I choke it and maybe turn this over just twice, the choke mechanism works pretty good, and that should be good enough, and then I can just do that. Hopefully it won't overprime it. I don't know that I don't recall ever really having a whole lot of luck hand starting this engine, so I'll probably use an electric starter, which is fine because it's got a spinner on here. But I think you can also see here that I've got kind of a, you can see the gap I've got between the back plate of the spinner and this. That was not intentional. What happened in the process was I was eyeballing this thing and doing some measurement. Well, the bottom line is I ended up cutting about 1/4 of an inch off the back of this, which in hindsight I probably should not have done, to bring it closer, because it just, to me, it just didn't look like it was gonna extend beyond enough and not let the back plate of this rub. So, but like I said, hindsight's 20/20, and it is what it is. But let me do another little, well, since I've got this all on this side here, you can see the cutouts, how large they ended up being, and how my rear opening is, and you can see the exhaust in there, and then here you can see the side and all the different holes I've put in this cowling. So this is kind of one of those things where I certainly am not a professional model assembler, nor for scale or anything like that. This is just sport, so I don't do cowlings very well. I don't do windscreens very well. It was just never something that I was all that interested in making look nice and perfect. It was always just a matter of it being functional. I did make some little extra cutouts here so that the exhaust isn't right touching that. So anyway, this is what it is, and we'll see how well engine testing pulls off, and hopefully it'll work out all right here. But that'll probably be in the next video. So thank you for watching.
What's going on, baby? Talk to me. What's happening, Belle?